Hey, what's cooking, good lookins? Welcome back to episode 3 of What's Cooking in Jasmine's Kitchen. We hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode and thank you so much for the positive feedback and all the questions. Please keep them coming in. However, we can adapt the dish to make it a bit easier. If you don't have any of the ingredients at home, I'm sure we can find a way to make the dish work without a specific ingredient. Obviously not the main one. On today's episode, we're going to be making a Moroccan lamb tagine, but obviously a quick fix that you can do at home without actually having a tagine. Few questions that I just want to answer from the comments of last week. People have asked what knives do I use every single week or what do I use daily. So my daily knife is the Woodstock collection. I use the classic range. This I've had for a couple of years now and it never ever disappoints. This beautiful showstopper was a gift from my lovely wife. It's from Kitchen Samurai and it's a David Howler custom made knife. I'll leave all the links in our description. So to get started, what you're going to need. If you've got a tagine, fantastic, but most people don't keep a tagine in their houses. Tagines are available online. You can get them at a lot of the major retailers. I know La Crusade is one of them. This here is a Moroccan tagine imported from Morocco, but if you don't have this, it's not a deal breaker. Today we're just going to be using the bottom for our serving and the top is going to be part of the cooking. If you don't have a tagine, once again, you can use a heavy base bottom pan and a normal lid. If you've got the top, it's fantastic. It creates natural steam and allows the meat to be a lot more succulent and tender because you want it to be succulent and tender. So what are we going to need? Let's start with that. Let's put our tagine aside for a minute. We're going to start with our marinade. Marinade needs to be made at least 24 hours in advance. It makes the meat a lot more flavorful, a lot more juicy, and that's what you want from the tagine. Traditionally, a tagine is slow cooked. It takes about 3.5 to 4 hours to cook, but we're going to try to cook it in 45 minutes. So let's start off here. I've got about 250 grams of lamb meat. This is curry lamb. Ideally, go to your local butcher. Make sure they put a bit of shoulder or neck inside because you want all that good fat inside. Because it's slow cooking, it's just going to make the meat a lot more flavorful and a lot more tender. Let's start with the ingredients. I've got about 3 tablespoons of fenugreek or kasuri methi as you know it, half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of black pepper, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, half a teaspoon of paprika. Here I've got a mixture of 2 teaspoons of fennel seed with 3 cloves. I've just ground that up, half a teaspoon of salt and about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon powder. This is all the bases of your marinade. We've got our meat here. We're going to start off by just drizzling it with olive oil. And one by one, just put in all the dry spices. There's no particular order this needs to be done in because they're all going to be mixed up and put into the marinade. Like I said, try to do this the day before. If you marinate it, you can do it in the week if you're going to be cooking over the weekend, and this will stay for about 3 to 4 days in the freezer, 1 day in the fridge ideally. So for me, I like to do it the day before, leave it in the freezer, in the fridge, not the freezer, so it's still nice and soft when I'm ready to cook. While I'm getting that mixed up, let's move over to this side here. For the garnish, we've got a mixture of parsley and coriander. I've got about 40 grams of butter. I've got some roasted almonds. I've got 1 tomato that's been chopped up, and I've got 1 tomato that's been liquidized, as well as 1 onion and half a garlic clove that's been liquidized. You're also going to need a couple of pitted dates and a few oranges to garnish at the end. Once that's done, you want to get that into a sealable bag, which ideally you want to vacuum seal overnight. Just going to lock up all that flavor, make it a little bit messier. It's no fun without this. So you're going to get that into a vacuum seal bag. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, you can just try to squeeze out all the air and just store it in the fridge overnight. Vacuum seal that for at least 24 hours. Just get my hands washed again. So obviously we've taken the liberty to do it yesterday, and what I've got here is 250 grams of curried lamb or lamb neck that's been marinated now for 24 hours. So get rid of this. You can't see my assistants, but they're a great help. Without them, they're obviously tired of hearing my voice all the time, but without them I wouldn't be able to make these videos, so thank you guys. So we're just going to open it up and leave it there. So what I've got here, I'm using a Schumann heavy base pot. It's about 20 centimeters in diameter. The reason why I picked this one here It cooks really well, it's non-stick, but it fits perfectly for my tagine lid. So we're just going to start the heat. Initially you're going to put it on a medium to high heat when you start to braise the onions. Into there we're going to get a couple of cubes of butter. We're going to let that start melting down.
A few moments later.
So our butter is now fully melted and we're ready to toss in our onions. We're going to get our onions in there together with the garlic. Obviously using a wooden spoon so we don't damage our pot. Let it start to saute. It's not going to change color completely. We want it just to start getting a little bit yellow, not brown, before we continue with the next process, which happens quite fast. It's a bit backwards, but now normally you put the oil first. Now we just want to get the butter flavor, and now we're putting the oil in once again because we don't want the color of the onion to change too much. Once that's on, we're going to start by putting the pureed tomato in. Unlike most other cooking, when you put in your tomato and your onion, you let that cook down. Because this is slow cooking, we're just going to mix it up, let it cook for about 30 seconds before we start putting our other ingredients inside. We're going to put half of our sweet potatoes. Let it coat completely with the onion and the tomato. We're going to take our lamb, but it needs to be placed meticulously because you want it to sit on top of the onion and tomato base so the meat doesn't burn. At the moment we're still on a medium heat. When we cover it, we're going to be cooking at a low heat. All your flavor is going to be coming from this marinade, so you just want that in. Thereafter you're going to take the balance of the potatoes. Just get that sweet potato all over. You don't have to stir it or mix it at this point. All that flavor is going to lock in. It wouldn't be a tagine without any sweetness, so we've got dates. We've got about 4, we'll put in 4 now. And we'll put the last one in, we'll cut it into pieces just before we serve it as a garnish. At this point, right on top, you can take your chopped tomatoes, put it on. It's going to cook down by itself. Just get that all on there. So basically you've now set your pot or set your tagine. Put on your lid and turn your heat down to low. Cook for 35 minutes. After 35 minutes we're going to open it up and we're going to put our butter inside and let it cook down for another 10 minutes. Thereafter we're going to garnish and serve with naan, couscous or rice. Today we're going to be using naan, but anything goes with the tagine. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
One eternity later.
Welcome back guys, it's been about 35 minutes. We managed to clean up a little bit here and we're just going to have a look at how our tagine is doing. As you can see, the meat is getting cooked quite nicely. It's quite succulent already. I'm just going to give it a bit of a stir. Very happy with that. At this time we're just going to give a taste to the masala to see if I need to add any spices. That's absolutely perfect. One thing I omitted to mention was that you need to put some sort of fizz. At this stage, before we put the butter, we're going to put some sort of fizz. I'm going to be using Sprite, about 150 ml. If you don't have fizz, you can of course use water, that will also work. But ideally it works nicely with the fizz. It cooks down and gives a little bit more sweetness to the dish. So we're going to just open this can, pour half of that, which is about 125 ml. Let the bubbles disappear before we add in some butter. The balance of the butter is going to go in, still on a slow cook, and we're going to let that cook down now for another 10 to 15 minutes and our tagine will be ready for serving. So we've been cooking now for a total time of about 45 minutes. It's 35 minutes, then we put the butter and the Sprite, and now our tagine is fully ready. You can just give that a bit of a stir, have a look. Yes, it looks quite oily, but obviously that's all the butter and that's all the richness. It adds to the flavor. So we're ready to serve this. We're just going to turn it off the heat. Pull out our tagine base. and we're going to start dishing. Obviously you don't want to grab all that oil immediately. You want to take the meat, the potatoes, just get that in. Get that all in. Like I said, this serving is enough for 2 people, maybe 3. Or if you like me, I will eat this by myself. But yeah, more than enough for 2 people. Get that all inside. And like I said, we're going to be serving you with some naan today. You can use couscous, you can use rice, anything just to lap up all of that gravy. It smells so good. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells absolutely fantastic. Just get all of that in there. You can see how the meat is fallen off the bone. And then I'm just taking a little bit for myself to taste before I actually garnish all of this. So what are we garnishing this with? It's important that you add some sort of citrus, either lemon, orange. We're using orange because it goes really nice with lamb. We're just going to stick that around the tagine itself. Give a squeeze of that after you dish out. You can garnish with the parsley and coriander. The green always adds a nice vibrance to it. And then obviously the roasted almonds. And all over the place besides the tagine. And then obviously if you want to be a bit fancy, you can garnish it with some kunafe. I'm garnishing it with a water and flour tuile. So, a item I definitely will teach you guys how to make it sometime in the series. Just to add a dash of color. Obviously that fine dining excellence there. So there you have it, Moroccan lamb tagine, served with naan on the side. Is a showstopper. You're going to put the lid on, lift it off before you serve. Hope you guys try this at home. Hope you enjoy it. Please give us your feedback. We look forward to hearing from you. Moroccan lamb tagine cooked in 45 minutes. See you guys in the next episode.